Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka 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 podcast.
Baka!
Baka.
It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Baka Baka Baka. We are an anime podcast. Every 2 weeks, we come together. After we've watched an anime, we discuss it on this podcast. After that, we turn it over to our comment section and let you join in on the discussion with your hot takes, your differences of opinions. We love it all here. Contrasting opinions is what we do, and that's what the show is all about. And we watched for this week Sleepy Princess in the Demon Castle. And to talk about it, I need the help of my co-host. First off, we have the Princess Zelda to my Ganon. Jeremy, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. So, have you guys had a chance to watch Tomorrow War yet?
Oh, I haven't. No, that came out yesterday from when we recorded this.
Okay. How about you, Jason? No? Okay. Yeah, since it was on Amazon Prime for free, we went ahead and we watched it. And first off, I gotta say, I love Chris Pratt. I love everything he's been in that I've seen so far. This movie was really hard to finish. It was really hard to finish. The plot holes, I won't spoil anything, but the plot holes are just glaring, and it's painful. It kind of feels like the writer wants to get you, in the sense that there's accepted tropes, right? And there's accepted patterns of, you see A, B, C happen, you expect D to happen, right? And so this is in the sense of like an emotional buildup for a scene. So if you have a character do something and, you know, it's going to be really expensive, it's going to cost them their life, or it's going to cost the life of somebody else, that's what you expect, right? And the reason you expect it is because when that payoff comes, you get that sense of impact, that emotional, oh, this is a satisfying conclusion. Everything weighs out correctly. But in this case, it kind of feels like the writer is going, oh, that's what you're going to expect. So arbitrarily, I'm going to do this other thing to negate this final impact, because then I'll surprise you and I'll shock you. And it happens a few times in different scenes. And it just, each time it happened, I was like, but you took my satisfaction away. Like, this doesn't feel right now. You know, this shouldn't have happened. But yeah, it's a little difficult to finish. But I'd still say, like, if you want a good action flick that at least has great CGI and really interesting monsters, when you have some time and you don't have anything better to watch, it might be worth it just to enjoy that part of it. But
almost as if they're trying to subvert your expectations.
Yes, that's what it felt like. Yes, I was getting like dramatic memories. I was like,
I saw that coming a mile away.
No, don't crash in the hyperspace. Oh, but I do have something else I wanted to mention.
Honestly, I'm really excited you watched stuff and had like
I know.
reviews and stuff you watched that hasn't happened in years.
I know. I was thinking about that tonight when I came in. I was like, I actually have stuff to share that I watched.
Yeah.
It's great.
Now that school's done and stuff, that's nice to see
Yep.
you watch stuff. All right. We also have the Princess of Wales to my British media, Jason. Too soon.
I'm unfamiliar, so you know it is what it is.
Oh, okay. Jason, how have you been?
I was going through to watch this, and I saw that there was a new season of When They Cry, and they only had the first 2 episodes of season 2 coming out. And from our conversation before, I was really interested to see like how do they take a different take. The first 2 episodes are super intriguing because they go, okay, we've already let.
Make sure you don't spoil for someone who hasn't listened to those episodes.
Right. So no, but basically the writers were like, okay, we're opening the doors because you know all the backstory, you know the secrets. We're going to show you from a different angle. So they kind of follow the person in the first couple episodes of the last season, and their descent into madness is a fascinating take. I'm actually really intrigued with how they're going about the writing, and getting to see the effects of the curse.
Sorry, are you planning on sticking with it?
I think so.
Let us know how it goes.
Well, I think when it finishes, it might be something that we should watch. But we'll see. But I also got a chance to watch the Demon Slayer train movie.
I'm jealous.
Yeah. It's good.
It's on my list. That and Tomorrow are both on my like movies I wanted to watch this weekend.
Just, it's funny because normally when you see a movie to an anime, like they step up the animation. The animation of the show is so dang good. It's like it was right on par. Like the animation is so gorgeous. And so, they kind of went in a weird direction with one of the demons, and the emotional impact of what this demon does to them throughout the story is actually pretty strong. I didn't quite like the ending, but this is supposed to be basically another season of the show. Mm-hmm. So, because it's not a side story, it's the next part. Like it literally happens right after the last episode. So, and
then it's gonna go into their next season. Yeah.
In fact, I think either we should watch it for the podcast, or we should at least have a short review of it, because it's worth watching.
Got a lot of assignments for us there, just coming in here with a lot of telling us what to do.
I said should, not we have to.
How's that new promotion at work?
It's kind of like when I my wife and I we want two different things for dinner, and so we compromise and we have what she wants for dinner.
Yeah, that's compromise.
Hi, and my name is Troy, and I got to see Fast and Furious 9, or F9 as it's called, which didn't do it's not the hottest in the reviews, and I've seen a lot of people with like, this isn't realistic, and I'm like, where have you been for the past 8 movies? But that's fine. It's a movie I go to because it's unrealistic, and I laugh, so I was laughing at the theater so hard every moment, like, hey, we're just gonna drive through this thing, and I'm like, that's insane, and that is hilarious. And you know, if you're a good guy and you land on a car, it's as soft as a pillow. But if you're a bad guy and you get hit by a car, solid as a rock. You're dead.
Whew. Movie logic, Fast and Furious logic.
Yeah, it's definitely in on the joke now. It's definitely like, we're campy, we're gonna be campy, we're not gonna care how magnets work. It's just, we're here to be cool. And me and my daughter are big fans of the series. So, and it was my first trip back to movie theaters, and so that was nice. A year away from that, and gotten to go back. It was a great experience. Movie popcorn, all of that.
So I gotta ask, like, did they have to? Was there like social distancing as far as the distance between like people at the theater and the chairs?
Their current rules is they will not. So I go to theaters where there are assigned seats now, so you don't have to wait in line. But they don't let you buy a seat next to another group. So you can, like, me and my daughter sit together, but then there's a seat between us and the next people who showed up. And then that was it. It was just the one seat between me and the next person.
That's pretty reasonable.
And so how do you know how to build a rocket to space? Oh, I used to be involved in illegal street racing.
Yeah. Which I was like, oh my god, that's me and my daughter's favorite of the Fast and Furious, because Tokyo Drift is a sports movie, and those characters show up in this movie, and I was like, oh, they're back! And they're rocket scientists now. Okay, that guy was failing school last time we saw him.
Story? Right. We don't have a story to tell. We got awesome to do.
We don't have a story. We got family.
That's right.
And there's a moment for the lost cast member that made me emotional at the end. Always gets me. It's such an easy one.
Oh no!
They do it again. I'm like, no, because in the movie universe he exists. But also, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but not really. In the movie universe, he's in charge of the kids while they go off and have adventures. And that's how they explain why he's not on adventures. And now I just really want that movie of him having Paul Walker having to take care of the Fast and Furious kids who are as crazy as their parents, but on like go-karts and tricycles, and they're just flying everywhere. And that would be a great movie. And it makes me even sadder that he's gone. That would be a great. I can call it Little Fast, Little Furious.
I didn't know they had
Just
children.
We need to talk. Let's talk about our anime. Sleepy Princess in the Demon Castle is a comedy. And so before we go into our spoilers, though, let's talk about what we thought about it with non-spoilery section. Jeremy, this was your pick. What'd you think?
I really liked it. The first few episodes in, I was a little bit worried because you can see that there's a formula, and at least I was wondering, is this formula actually going to last? Is it going to be entertaining and enjoyable the whole time? And I was very pleasantly surprised. It just, again and again and again, it kept me laughing. It kept me wanting to see what was going to happen next and paying attention. The jokes landed really, really well. I liked the other characters as well as the main character. She was fantastic. Yeah, overall, I was really impressed with it. And, you know, maybe it has something to do with coming off a very heavy anime, but it was exactly what I needed right now. Very, very light and entertaining, relaxing.
Jason, what'd you think?
It's funny because if you were to try and describe and sell me on this anime, like it's a comedy, it's from the point of view of a princess, it's got, you know, different JRPG jokes, I would be like, I don't want to watch this anime. This was fantastic. The writing and the jokes were just spot on. The leaning into how dumb some of the JRPG like tropes are is really great, and it works really well from this, you know, kind of obliviously narcissistic princess. So yeah, I can't wait to get into this one. This one was great. Like the jokes landed really well.
Yep, I'll be honest, I was a little nervous going in, just like you guys. We actually had this recommended to us by one of our listeners, Gamer Dad, and when he had first said it, I was like, I mean, he's usually spot on with his reviews. Well, we agree with him a lot, and are you sure?
Yeah.
But I had hoped we'd get to it, and so when Jeremy picked it, I was like, oh, that's perfect. You know, we can finally watch this. But I'm like, okay, here we go. And I had a big smile on my face the entire anime. I laughed out loud most of the anime. And it, just like Jeremy said, it helps that we've been in a lot of heavy stuff. So this is a great palate cleanser, something light. I don't have to sit and think about themes or character arcs. There's not really a lot to break down, but it's playing with JRPG tropes, and I love those. And it, like I said, it just works on a comedy level. It's well written. This was a great little enjoyable nugget. I'm not going to put it anywhere on like a top 10 list, but you need an anime like this every once in a while, especially with, you know, how heavy animes these days are getting. And just wait till we announce our next one.
All right.
And we are going to announce one this time.
Yeah.
All right. The opening and the closing. What do you guys think?
I thought they were really like the opening was really smart. It gave a really good flavor for what you were going to be watching without giving too much away. And I'm pleasantly surprised to see more and more anime doing this, where they don't just basically lay everything out on the table and now you kind of know what's coming. It does a little bit, but you really don't understand what you're watching when you're watching it, because there's twice where you see a gravestone for a really good reason.
Yeah.
But man, the music of the ED was so good. Like, and it wasn't something I'm gonna probably listen to ever again. But after this light, funny anime, it goes into that, you know, that light music with the swinging blade. It just kind of goes together really well. With the scary trees in the background, but then you see one of the characters like brothers in.
I have a quick question for you, Jason. What did you think of the animation style of the ED?
And that's the thing. I hate chibi. I do. I cannot stand it. And for some reason, this ED got me. Like, I watched it nearly every time.
So you're a convert now.
No.
No, Jason, that was my follow-up. And the real reason I asked you that question, because I knew you were going to say that. This is like the 5th or 6th time that you've seen something chibi and go, I hate chibi, but this was really good.
Yeah.
I think at this point you just need to admit to yourself you don't mind chibi at all. And, like, you're just holding on to this hatred that you don't actually.
Okay, all right. Listen.
Remember it.
Short sidebar here. I went and tried to watch about a 20 minutes worth of Isekai Quartet, and the jokes were good. I kind of liked the interplay between the characters. I hated the animation every moment, and I was like, I cannot keep watching this.
That's fair. It's just multiple times now in this podcast you have said they had done chibi in this, and it works for me. And I've just been wondering, like, does he really feel that way? But yeah, if you had something that was actually chibi that made you upset,
especially Isekai Quartet, that's got everything that should make you happy.
All right, Jeremy, what are your thoughts on the opening and closing?
I have really enjoyed both. I think probably my favorite part in the opening is just the fact that she's closing a pop-up book. That's just awesome. Like, this whole thing is just, it's like a bedtime story. And it works so perfectly because we find out that her name is Aurora, which is not frequently used. But of course, that's Sleeping Beauty's name. And just knowing that connection is in there too, it really is attached to, like, the old stories, really. It's just a new take on an old story. And that's really cool. The ending song, I totally agree with Jason. The music, I would never pick it to listen to under any other circumstances, but it suited that so well. It was great. Yeah. And I really enjoyed it. Enjoyed both.
Yes, I really love the intro, and I'm just medium on the outro, guys. Even Jason, you said I love the music, and I have listened to it every single time. I never turned it off. It gives me time to prepare my notes anyway, so I'm always paying attention to the opening and the closing. The closing just never got me, but the opening definitely did. I love the head bounce at the start of the song. I love all the crazy animation that just builds and builds. All the crazy characters we're gonna get to see, and then finally being like, oh, okay, we finally met that character. Great opening. Turtle. Yeah, yep, great. Well, that's in the closing, but
yeah, you're right.
it really sets the high energy tone of, like, hey, this is lighthearted, this is carefree, this is fun. Don't stress as you go into this. It both do a really good job of setting that tone.
I do love in the opening of this first episode, without getting too spoilery, like, they're like, and suffering went over the land, and you don't see any suffering.
No.
It's just zero.
You couldn't wait the 5 seconds for a spoiler warning to. I mean, we're literally about to talk about that, but it's fine.
Okay.
No, just
cut it. Fine. Edit it out.
Oh no! Everyone gets to know what you did. All right. Spoiler warning is being dropped. We're going into the story. We're going to talk about the characters, the plot. Jason can point out things that actually happened in the story. He doesn't have to wait anymore. But if you have not watched the anime and we have convinced you want to, this is a good time to turn off the podcast. Otherwise, we're just gonna keep going because we don't know what you're doing, or do we? Don't turn us back on now. All right. We start in the land of Good Resty. Goody Resty.
Yes.
Little on the nose.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, like Jason mentioned before the spoiling warning dropped, that this is a land where there was great suffering between the demons and the humans, and now they don't like each other and they live separated. And our anime starts with the Demon King attacking the kingdom of Good Resty and kidnapping the princess and whisking her away. And a hero is sent out on a quest to rescue her from his castle. And our story,
literally the plot of Mario.
And our story is actually about the princess. Now, her full name is Princess Aurora Sia Liss Goody Resty. But they call her Princess Cialis.
Cialis.
Cialis, which It's not a medication for
funny.
sleep. And I was like, wait,
No.
wait. I've had to look it up multiple times now. Like, am I sure that that's the okay?
I looked it up too. I was like, this name I know this name. I've
It's
heard
a
it.
medication, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's gonna be a sleep medication. That's definitely a nice little reference.
No, it
Good
certainly
bestie, Aurora.
it wakes something up. So
Yeah,
With
there's
her
that.
with her brother, Prince Xanax.
Yes.
She is a lolly character, but what do you guys think about our princess?
I actually really like this character. She's just kind of this unaware narcissist that she really like the need for beauty sleep, which she calls it out like in one of the first episodes. Like she needs her rest so she looks presentable as royalty, but also she's just really tired because it's just a kind of an uncomfortable situation. And this this particular drives nearly every one of her interactions, including decapitating monsters in the castle.
Yes.
And so, she's a joy to watch because it's really funny. And like I said, all the jokes that she kind of like is surrounded by. There's a moment where the camera's panning up from the ground from the character that's laying on the ground with all these like little demon teddy bears, and she's just got this look of like evil on her. You're like, wait, that's the princess from the good realm?
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, she was a joy to watch.
Yeah, she's definitely my favorite character in this season. Super, super, super funny. I think in the pre-show, and maybe it was in the intro, you called her obliviously narcissistic, and I thought that was the perfect way to sum her character up. Like in the intro, they have her dancing around with scissors, like it's just this cute thing. But like you said, she kills people with those scissors, and she justifies it later because she's like, oh no, they'll get resurrected down in the cathedral. She didn't know that.
No, she does not.
She did
That's
not
the
know
beginning.
that. She cracks me up. There's like characters that just want to get to know her. They want to be her friend. They want to have conversations with her, and she's just like, just be gone. I don't want anything to do with you, unless there's some way that they can help her achieve some sleep goal of hers. And then she'll just misuse them and just completely abuse them. And as terrible as that is, it's also really funny. But there's one of the things that I think is really interesting is the names of not just her, but also the Demon King and the hero that we find out about later. The Demon King's name is Twilight, and the hero's name is Donner. And since she loves sleep so much, we're like getting to see her in this time that she's with Twilight in Twilight's castle, right? Sleeping at night.
Mm-hmm.
And she's does not want to be rescued by Donner. Like there's these complex layers that they put in here. They didn't have to. And it's really cool seeing some of that stuff. So yeah, I absolutely love this character.
Yeah, she's fantastic. I love the very business-like efficiency she has. She's like, I need a new pillow, and there's no beating around the bush. She's getting the materials to. That person has to die for me to get that. That's absolutely fine. And the point where you described, Jason, where she's standing there with the teddy bear, is like, I need fluff, and she's like, I'm gonna kill him. No, I could get it a different way. So it's not like she wants to kill. It's just that that's the practical way to get something. She's into it. And she's fantastic. She, especially like when we find out more about her productivity levels when she needs to do work because it keeps her from sleep. So she's like the most efficient worker ever.
And yet she breaks rules to do it. I love that.
Yep.
Well, not really breaks rules, but is like,
there's no rule
how
that says
can
I can't do it this
twist
way.
this? Exactly. Yes.
Yes, she's
Manipulate it the way she needs.
and she carries grenades on her at all times.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Yeah. So in this first episode, we are presented with her quest. So basically, there's usually 2 or 3 quests an episode, and it's, hey, this is what's keeping me from a good night's sleep, and it's always something, right? It's never the same thing. And she's like, oh, it's this pillow. This pillow is terrible. So this quest is, I gotta get a good pillow. And her jailers are literally teddy bear demons. So they're teddy bears with little bat wings on their backs, and they can fly. And we have the scene where she looks like she's going to murder him, but she brushes their hair instead, and that makes them love her. Love her. All of the teddy bears love her. And so they bring her the key. They bring her the key whenever she wants from this point on. All she has to do is hold out the brush, bang it against the jail cell, and you see little teddy. And they do the same exact animation over and over, episode after episode. Here comes the teddy bear. I got the key. So she goes out. She starts stealing some materials to make the pillow. She steals a porcupine guy's quill for a needle. And she manages to sew up her pillow, and then we get the Demon King coming down to scold her for breaking rules and escaping. That's not what you're supposed to do. You're a hostage. Oh, she's already asleep. Mm-hmm. And this is our real first introduction to this Demon King, Twilight. So what did you guys think of this character?
I thought he was... It's funny because, again, I hear Demon King, and that's really overused in a lot of the anime that we watch, not only on the show but personally. And I was kind of dreading having this character around, and he plays this like I'll be evil when I need to be evil, but I'm really just kind of a nice guy, and I kind of just want my way to go things my way. And it's funny too because you have this. Whenever they spot the princess walking around the castle, they're like, "Wait, she's out of her cell again." But like, they need her alive, so they can't just go and hurt her. So, and that interaction, especially between them and the Demon King, is pretty funny.
Yeah, I thought he was a great character. What confused me is the relationship that these monsters have, and I've been trying to figure it out ever since finishing the anime, because they all see her, including the Demon King, they all see her sort of almost like as fatherly or like uncles or protectors almost, right? But then sometimes they're also just like, oh, that kind of makes me nervous because she's kind of cute, like being cute in a way that's not necessarily the protected one, right? And so I was trying to figure that out, and the only thing I could come to a conclusion of is that they're monsters. They're monsters. And they do mention at one point that they're worried about even handling human children because they're afraid that they'll break them because they're so delicate, and that humans are weak. So what must they think of humans, especially one that looks like her, even though she's an adult? And so then it kind of made sense to me. Oh, okay, so she's adorable no matter what, just because she's adorable to monsters. And so, that it made a little bit more sense why he was sometimes behaving like, oh, she's cute and I want to protect her, like what you would expect in that sort of uncle or father role. And then other times reacting with a sort of, oh, do I press these pressure points and then go for it,
Right.
which we'll get into later, which is like, yeah, that's not fatherly and that's not unclely. So you're kind of confusing me right now, but
yeah,
it's monsterly.
Well,
it makes sense if it's monsterly.
So to address that real quick, it's funny because the outfit she's wearing apparently is her pajamas all the time.
All the time.
And because of the way she's drawn with these pajamas, it makes her look... And also, we don't have any other real humans to scale her against. So it's tough to, judge her adultness. But then we realize that, not only is the hero basically the same age as her, which gives some context. But when there's a scene where she's looking for a great bath, and you can see most of her legs and some of her arms. You can see she's drawn very adult like in those scenes. So that made me feel better.
Well, and she is an
as
adult
far as
according
that,
to the wiki too.
Right.
It was just confusing to see both behaviors come out of the Demon King and the monster.
I completely agree with you, Jeremy, because when it's almost like they wanted to have their cake and eat it too. They wanted to have jokes about cute little kid and I want lollipop and I don't want to deal with a dentist. But also sometimes we want to pepper in some jokes about flirting and being in a bed with a man and they could. mostly it's the first one, but every once in a while, I think it was 2 episodes where they do the second one. And the first time it happened, I was like, wait, isn't she like 12, 13?
Right.
And we've seen many lowly characters in anime that are adults, so that's not unusual. It was more the way they were treating her. It was, teddy bears coming to her room and her brushing teddy bears, which I naturally attributed to childlike behavior. And she does have a bit of a naivety and childlike persona to her. I mean, later she's riding on their shoulders like their dads or uncles, like Jeremy said. But technically she is adult, and they multiple times clarify that she's not a child anymore. We see her in child forms. We see flashbacks of her as a child. We see the hero and her as the same age as children. So he's a grown-up, she's a grown-up. But it sometimes it still felt a little uncomfortable just because of the treatment of her. Felt very childish sometimes.
Yeah. And the reason that I even bring that up in regards to like what I think of the Demon King is because he plays a very interesting role to not just her, but like even his relationship with the hero. like how he's sort of like guiding everything. He's got his own end that he wants to get to. The whole reason why he abducted her, it's not what you may traditionally think is the reason why he abducted her, right? Like you think that maybe some evil Demon King is abducting her because he needs her for some sacrifice or something. But no, he actually genuinely wants to like get her in the castle as bait for the hero and then make the hero level up by laying out mazes and fields for the hero and making sure they're not too hard, but they're also not too easy.
They'll have sacred treasures in them so he can power up and get stronger.
Exactly, right?
Appropriate treasures.
Yes, and then eventually his goal is work him through the bosses at the table, and then he'll eventually get to me, and then I'll beat him. I got to raise up this hero to basically, it sounds like he's trying to establish that he deserves the position he has as
he even says the reason. He says a representative of the humans and the demons need to battle to settle the grievances of the past once and for all. He's literally trying to make the world a better place and he figures if we can just have one grudge match and get this all out of the way, maybe then we can come together. And so that's his plan. I'll capture the princess. The hero will come. I'll make sure he's strong enough to be a full representation of the human. I'll be the representation of the demons. Hopefully I'll win, but the issues of the past will be behind us then. I don't know if that's a great plan, but that is his... And honestly, he doesn't say it's a late. I was thinking, like, does he want the hero to win? Is he just very much... It almost had a cells at work vibe to me of, like, I'm filling the role of bad guy and help... But my role is also to help the good guy get strong and come over here and beat me and fulfill his destiny. It has that feel to it, but he does have that official reason for why he's doing this. But it's why I love the Demon King. He was my favorite character. I love that he's both afraid of the princess and just wishing that she would act appropriately in her situation. And he stays up at night stressing about the hero not doing what he's supposed to do. He's lost again. I can't sleep. We're never gonna get to do this.
It's so like there's one point where he just like shows up and he's like, now you must go left because I'm so evil. No, go left. Go left.
And the hero does.
Yes. And it's because the hero went faster than we thought. We didn't have the area ready, so we had to be like, go left, don't go. We're still doing construction.
Yeah. I love how the hero's friends are like, you're actually going this way? Oh God. Like you listened to the Demon King? Oh my God.
All right, so in our next quest is for she wakes up with a wrinkle on her head from her poor bed sheets.
Oh, you didn't say how she actually got the material for the pillow. She killed one of the ghost shrouds. She took some scissors and she chopped its head off.
I don't think for the pillow. That's for her bed sheets.
Yeah, that was for the bed sheet.
Maybe I forget where she got the material for the pillow, though.
I thought she did it for the pillow. No, I think you're right. It must have been the bed sheets because they glittered.
Yeah, she steals cloth for the pillow. And then she gets
she steals it from the Siberian guards.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
No, that's later. That's their...
Oh, because she wears the cloak later.
She went to the item room and just found some stuff. Anyway,
Huh. Okay.
Anyways,
My bad.
Now, so she's like, oh, I can't sleep in my crown, but it does hold my bangs back perfectly. Anyway, Sorcerer Scissor, who's a guy with an arm made of scissors, giant scissors, small scissors, just a bunch of scissors, walks in, and she's like,
for some reason they keep falling off.
Yeah.
and he's like, man, I wish I had something to hold my scissors together. She's like, well, I wish I had a scissor. I'll give you my crown. You can use that to hold your scissors, and if I can have scissors, he gives her giant human-sized scissors. And she makes a little headband from the rest of her cloth that looks like a crown, but it's just a headband that'll be nice and soft for her. And then she decides she's got to fix these sheets, and then this is when she starts terrorizing people with the scissors. And there are literally demons in this castle that they're called ghost shrouds. They look like blankets with faces that are kind of like a Boo from Super Mario, but in blanket form. And she just cuts off their arms and their heads and then takes their bodies, and that's great material right there.
As it's dying, because it's only a head left, you can see like this green goo coming out of its mouth. Like, I can't believe she just got to my body.
Yep.
So after this, again, the Demon King comes to talk to her, and again, she's already asleep on her new sheet. So he's like, I will come back later. And it's funny, the underlings behind the Demon King is he's like posturing, and they're like, tomorrow, just try it again tomorrow.
We reschedule, sire.
And the next one, it's too loud. There's many noises. The other demons are all snoring while they sleep. She can't sleep, so she wants a new bed that will help deal with that. She heads off and she finds this sacred shield with like wind power. and we overhear the Demon King talking about it. Like, this is like a powerful item, and the hero needs to find it. And you have to be very careful not to break it. Meanwhile, this little flying gem monster came up to her and started harassing her. So she put him in a bag and is using him as a hammer because she wants the wind part of the shield. She doesn't need the rest of the shield, and she's just bashing it. And she breaks the shield and then bundles up everything that's left as garbage and throws it in the chest. And
I love the credit scene for this episode.
And then as she's leaving, she's crossing a bridge over lava, and she steps on a slime monster and falls into the lava, and the princess dies.
Yep, a little gravestone floats to the top.
A little gravestone appears, and it's my favorite joke. I love they do this. She actually dies twice in the OP, so you kind of already see this coming. But if you were watching close, but yeah, and then luckily they have a demon cleric in a demon church underneath the castle who can bring her back to life, and she comes back to life, and the demon cleric is there, and she's like, "This coffin is perfect. It'll block out sound, but it's a little rough. I'm gonna use your horns to sandpaper it down." And rubs his head against it, and then she leaves with that. But we should talk about some of the demons that we've been encountering. So this is Cleric, the demon cleric, and he's kind of the third in command of the Demon King's army. Well, what did you guys think of this poor Sam?
I thought he was all right. He wasn't really a star of the show. He was just kind of always there. He gets a great scene near the end of the anime where he walks in on the situation. But past that, he's just. I do love when he's like, I know what's going on, but you guys won't let me talk. But yeah, he is all right.
Yeah. He has one thing that he really stands out for, and that is like protecting her purity and also protecting, any kind of forbidden relationship that may occur. And that, yeah, he's great for that. But also just this scene where she sands the edges of a vampire's coffin with his horns, just, oh God, it was great. But yeah, I don't know. He's great as a background character, but nothing particularly impressive or memorable for me.
The reason I included him on the list of characters to mention is just because he seems to be the one with the most, the first to really take a liking to her, and seems the most protective of her. and the most willing to go along with her crazy schemes. He's the first one to say, "Yeah, let's help her. Let's do what she wants." And seems to almost have some jealousy over her because, yeah, there's the scene with the Demon King, but there's also a scene where he figures out the hero is her fiance, and he's like, "Kill him." He goes up to the monster that's gonna fight him. He's like, "You kill him." I'm like, but then later also sneaks a bomb in to disrupt that fight. He's a little emotionally attached to the princess, and I like that.
I think it was more because like he learned kind of the backstory of
Oh,
her
you think he didn't like
relationship
the
with the
hero?
hero, and so that I think that's why he got protective. Like, this jerk can't be around.
We also need to talk about the 4 lowly guards. So we'll meet the top 10 later in the anime, but there's also the 4 guards that are always just kind of standing around chatting with each other as the princess breaks out and offer a lot of the line delivery and of the what are the higher ups even thinking with all this? So there's a porcupine monster, there's a minotaur, a Frankenstein, and like a goblin guy, and they all have names, I'm sure, but I didn't get all of them. I think only the porcupine I actually have written down. But what did you guys think of these 4 guards? Because they do deserve to have a little mention here.
I liked their comedic moments because, yeah, they would just be standing like. There's a moment where they're like, she's reaching up to some really important items, and so they're like trying to get to her before she gets to it, and they're like freaking out, and then she just kind of drops down, which we'll get to that joke is pretty great. Or like, she's not in the castle, like, man, it's way too quiet without her.
I think Frankenstein was my favorite because he kept making comments that were like the straight man side of the joke, like calling out situations. And every time it would happen, they would like smack him and knock him off into the distance or push him over ledges or whatever else. Like they're basically saying this is a joke anime, and we're gonna play it that way. Shut up! Stop trying to take it seriously.
I really like Porcupine, just because the poor guy's always getting his needles ripped out by her because there's such a handy utility. But he's always there to help her anyway, and he has a bandage in a weird spot on him.
Belly button.
Yeah. And then, but
Yeah,
I
that's
also
what
want
it is.
I want to give a shout out to the Goblin, because in the one time they made an adult joke, the other 3 are like, "Ew," and he's like, "I'm in." I'm like, what is with this guy? Yeah. All right.
Goblin. We know what goblins are like. We've seen other anime.
Moving along.
Anyway, Twilight again tries to talk to her. It doesn't work out. And then we see the hero in the post-credit scenes opening up the treasure chest for the sacred item, and it's a bag of garbage.
Love that.
The broken shield.
And Twilight is literally watching from the background, like, what? Aww.
Well, the joke is that because of the princess is so devoted to making her sleep perfect, that she's literally ruining the hero's journey and slowing him down immeasurably.
I love that Twilight even uses the word, the phrase, the hero's journey. He even uses the term, like, we have to make sure that the hero's journey is unobstructed.
Yeah, they say something about, like, I made this easy to defeat. He's like, to help his confidence. Good job. But yeah, let's talk about Donner the hero and his party as well, if you guys want. What do you think of Donner?
I love that they didn't give a lot of time to him, because he mindlessly pushing forward at any cost to him and his party, and even his party is just like, what are you doing? But I liked him nearly being the background protagonist of the story, and I love that there's a couple times in the show where they basically end up back home, and they're like, we just make a circle. Like, they have no idea where they're going.
Yep. Yeah, I absolutely love the fact that basically what we see in the OP when it shows, you know, a completely different art style at the very end of the OP, and you've got the Demon King, and you've got a couple of his top 10 people, and you've got the hero, and you've got his two buddies, right? And they're all drawn in this more action-oriented pose, and you get some scenes where you think there's going to actually be a fight, but no, they always leave before there's a fight. Something happens and the fight's over. You never really get to see a fight, and that's what I would expect in an anime, is that action scene. I'd expect this character's story. It's so great that this is from the angle of, you know, well, what's the princess doing? Well, he's on his journey, and it's the most ridiculous princess ever. But Donner is really cool to me because I think he actually encapsulates what it's like if you were to look at a player's behavior, not necessarily because of a player's choice, maybe even just because of the design of the game. But like you were mentioning in maybe it was pre-show. It was pre-show, yeah. Like, we don't necessarily go in the direction that the game would want us to go to finish the level and move on to the next spot, right? We go to explore the level and see what's going on. What are we missing?
We've been programmed by game design. No one builds a room to the left for no reason.
Exactly, yes. And I can assure you that is exactly what they teach you in game design. You know, and so every dead end has to have a reward, and so you've got to check all the dead ends.
And Fallout 4, I need to go find my son. Oh wait, there's scrap over here.
Exactly. Yeah. What's under the scrap? What's behind it? Yeah. And so having this character behave this way, but even just in his, like, we learn at one point his character stats, because you get like these row of stars to indicate where the characters are strong. His is resilience and I think it was determination. Which is kind of funny because the two are they're so similar, they can almost be the same quality. So he's kind of a one-tone character, right? He's just going to push forward, nothing's going to stop him. And that's exactly what you would expect of a player, is they're just going to keep going. The game is designed for them to keep going. They can restart the level if they die, and it just seems like they never stop. So it's great. Plus, her background interactions with him are hysterical.
Yeah, what's it? Is what she calls him. That's fantastic. What's his face? Yeah, but like you mentioned, Jeremy, what I love most about him is the tropes they play with. And they do this all throughout the anime. He's just one of the best examples of the Demon King and all those guys are complaining about how he gets lost so often, and it just makes me think of that time where, like, well, I know the boss is straight ahead, so that's the last place I'm going to, and it just makes you wonder what that boss is. I mean, he can see me. Like, clearly, I'm on the other side of this bridge. Why is he going the other way? And even you know, in the episode, there's one episode where they end up back at the main castle, the Goody Rest Castle, and they're like, oh, we came all the way back home. That sounds to me like I've been grinding and I needed to go to a save point to get healed up.
And then there's a boss just sitting there waiting.
I'm not even 100% sure that's intentional, but yeah, I kept reading into all these JRPG tropes, and it very much is a video game. Like when the princess dies, it's minus HP. When she reads from a grimoire, it's minus MP. Like stats, and we see, like you said, there's all the stats we keep saying. It's definitely a video game world, at least in the way it's presented. So, yeah, when the hero gets lost, I'm like, yeah, that's how I play it too. So that was fun.
That reminds me of the should I cut off my hair? And it's like a little dialogue box comes up, don't cut your hair. A little dialogue box, don't cut your hair.
You only get one option.
So the next episode is the poor princess has had a bug bite, and so she wants to build a mosquito net. And so when she sets out to find one, the king of the ghost shrouds is like, come for his vengeance for his fallen comrade. So she kills him and takes his head and makes him the mosquito net. And then she borrows some cat climbing shoes from a cat demon that was bringing her food. So now she can
borrow.
She never gave them
says
back.
Borrow.
She says borrow. I loved when she took them. The scene was just absolutely adorable, the way they drew it.
You need to take off your shoes in my room. Yoink.
Yoink. Borrowing these.
And so she's climbing up to this tower to tie them up. Well, the problem is the phoenix eggs, the sacred phoenix eggs are up there. And so the demons are freaking out. They're like, oh my God, the princess is going after the demon eggs. and they send their flying troops after her. But she just ties off the mosquito net up there, and the eggs heal her mosquito bite, and then she goes down and she goes back to sleep. Works out great for her.
Of course, they all get pissed off and start beating each other up.
We just cleaned that.
Yep.
We see her enter a room with like a demon council, and this is not the Big Ten, and I don't think we ever see this group again. But she steals a sleeping potion from them, and they're like, "You need to give that back," and so she does.
Just I don't know, the way they drew these scenes and her actions, like she just kind of meanders up to the table, smiles. She's just so adorable, right? And then quickly grabs the potion and starts trying to walk away. I just love it. And when they call her out on it, she turns, she smiles, and there's like all these flowers that appear on the screen. It's so good. She's trying to use her wiles. I just love it.
It should also be mentioned that like healing potions, they say she drinks like their sports drinks. Yes. She just has like 12 bottles laying beside the bed. She likes the potions.
Yep.
So she decides she needs a new sleep item since she couldn't have that. And then we see that someone is watching her and commenting on her rule violations. She goes to a room full of fluffy, very poisonous mushrooms and jumps on them to fall asleep and dies. And so we get this conversation between the cleric and the demon king where he's like, yeah, she dies like once a week. It's a lot.
Cuts to a scene of him scolding her, going like, yes. Repeat after me. I will value my life. Yeah, I will value my...
So good. And this comes into play later, too, when she actually explains why, which I thought was great that they actually tied that loose end up. That was really cool.
There's also a flashback of her going to a lightning dragon they have caged up to try to get an electric massage for her sore muscles, but it's literally like death lightning coming out. She died then, too. She goes to the item room. And she had stolen a bunch of cloaks when she was making the sheets and with the scissors. And so she's using the guard cloak now. She's like, I need to get by. They need an item. And they're like, oh, okay, let me help you. And then the guy who's been watching her steps out of the shadows. And this is Great Red Siberian, who is a great character. Jason, he's a big dog. He's the head of the guards. And also probably second in command of the demon army. So, Jason, what do you think of him?
He is the goodest boy of all the guards. I love that he tries to be the like authority dad character, and she breaks him down every time. It's amazing. I do love his like, I'm going to be the enforcer of the rules. And you're going to follow the rules unless you trick me into something that I shouldn't be doing. And even it comes to one point where she like, puts her head on his like tuft of hair that's coming, off of his chest. And then, Twilight comes around the corner and he's like, well, how's it going? And like, Great Red's like, I'm thinking about cutting this off. But I love that he like he escorts her back and starts to like going basically we need this confiscate all of this contraband you've collected, and he looks at all the coffins. There's like 6 coffins in the corner, and he's like, no wonder the vampires are having a tough time sleeping.
And he keeps like digging through the shrouds. He's like, how many are there?
That's where she's like, but they resurrect.
I love how he points and he goes, what is that? She's like, it's a tree. Like, well, what do you want?
She's got this special tree growing in there, one of their magic trees.
My favorite of this scolding on the contraband is you can't take all the healing potions. So she gives him just the empties. Like, you take the trash.
What am I going to do with this?
And it plays in later, too, when there's other characters that need healing potions and they don't have them. Oh.
But yeah, I love that he is both the rule enforcer, but even when he punishes her, like it doesn't fit the crime. He's like, no soft drinks for a week when like someone died because of her. And that's him coming down And yeah, it also explains why some of the stuff from the previous episodes don't always appear in her room. He does check her room occasionally from this point onward, and she does get in trouble. So now there's a little bit of a rule, but it's not like she's not escaping and stealing stuff. She's just slightly having to put them back sometimes.
Sometimes, yes.
And I
Just-
love how they're like, how is she continuing to get out? Where is she getting keys?
And no one gets the teddy bear. Yeah, and then she falls asleep on him. So he's the item that she found. In the next episode, she wants a boring book to read, and she's been reading grimoires, and we're told grimoires literally sap your sanity, which in this comes as her MP. So when she reads them, she literally can't move after reading them for so long.
Now, didn't they say also they're like super dangerous to demons because they're made for humans to be able to vanquish demons with?
Yeah.
Then it makes you question, why do they have a ginormous library of grimoires?
Yeah. Yep.
So once she's out of MP and unable to move, she ends up rolling to move around and falls like a pinball into this, and she ends up opening the secret vault. So they're like, as long as the 4 statues aren't all facing the direction, and she like bounces off all of them, so they all turn. And there's, you have to hit every switch on the stairs on the way down because she's rolling. She hits them all. Basically opens the secret door and finds the ultimate grimoire, which a spirit comes out. His name is Alizif, and he's like, "Hey, I can give you the powers to defeat the Demon King." And she's like, "No, I'm just looking for like a bedtime story. Yeah, get out of my way." Trying to shove him down. She can barely move, but she's just like smacking him down.
Trying to close the book with him in it.
He restores her magic, and then he offers her sleep magic. And she's like, "Oh, yeah, that's my jam, sleep magic." Meanwhile, the Demon King has had... They're called Show the Mary, but they're cameras. They're demons that go to a TV. So they have now cameras wired everywhere. She cast the sleeping spell, and the entire castle falls asleep.
Don't cast it, because it'll take out all your MP.
Cast it immediately, and is so furious that she's awake. And the guy's like, "Why would it affect you? That'd be a terrible spell." So she ends up just
3 days.
crawling onto one of the books and falling asleep on one of them instead. And that's a quest complete for her.
Yep. And
then she does get a book from him on pressure points. And this is the one of the 2 adult jokes in the anime. There's a sleep pressure point on her back that she wants to press, but she can't reach it. So she asks the teddy bear to do it. They have too soft of hands. So she goes up to the 4 guards, and she's like, "Wait, but Great Red Siberian, he said I'll get in trouble if they know what's going on, so I won't give him details. I'm going to keep this on the down low." So she's like, "I need one of you to touch my body."
Touch me in a certain area.
And so, they all freak out except for Goblin. They're out. She says the same thing to Cleric. He passes out in the church. And then she drags Twilight to her cell and says the same thing to him. And he knows to touch her on the back, but he's like, "Oh, but this means like, this is what a girl says when, and
then you go for it.
And then you go for it. And then he touches her. And this is where I pulled up the Wikipedia of like, how old is she? And it has question mark, and then it clarifies pretty quickly she's an adult.
Yeah.
But
Yep. This was still funny. It was just unexpected.
Yes. It is still funny. And then her next quest is she wants to wake up to sunlight. And
oh god.
So she sees off in the distance there's a light in the forest, because it's always night at the demon castle. So she sees light in the forest. She's like, "That's what I need." So she puts a coffin on her back and gets her scissors, and she goes off into the forest. And the alarms go off. The demons are seeing her on camera just sprinting out into the woods, and they're like, "She's escaping. She's escaping." Oh, no. And she's just like, light. She reaches it, and the Demon King is like, "Oh, that's like my most powerful sword."
I hid it in the forest. Oh, he's like cowering in the corner. No, she's gonna give it to the hero. What is this?
They think that it'll go straight to the hero. She picks it up, and the demons are all running out to capture her, and she's coming right back. And then she walks right past them. She goes to her room. She puts like a blanket over it, and then so when she wakes up in the morning, she throws off the blanket, like opening the curtains, and oh, there's the sun that revigorates me so I can sleep better next time.
Yep. I love it because that's basically like Ragnarok or Masamune, where yeah. Oh, it's so cool. Excalibur, just seeing all the games from all the swords from Final Fantasy, the ultimate swords.
And this is the second time we've seen that the princess just has no plans of escaping at all.
No. Yeah.
It gives me that Cells at Work vibe of like, this is my role, so why would I escape? Like, I have to stay here and be rescued. That's what I'm supposed to do, even though she's clearly capable of getting away and getting home at any point in time.
Yeah, there's even a time where they say that they're afraid to try and like be more strict and keep her in her cell more because more of her, I don't know, latent abilities might start to manifest.
Powers.
Yeah, she'd get more powerful. And I was like, wait a minute. So she's genuinely way overpowered compared to the rest of them.
Yes.
And yes, she is.
The next episode, she hates her bathtub. She never got to sleep in a bathtub back at home because all her servants were always, messing with her. So she finally is alone in the bath, and it's tiny because they thought human princesses were like the size of chickens or a rabbit, and so they just have like this
centimeters.
Yeah, this tiny little, and so she just bashes it and breaks it into pieces. And she decides she's going to make her own bath, and so she goes to the demon communal bath and shoves a pipe into it that puts water into her room. She gets the
isn't
water
that our communication line.
And then the water's bursting out into her room, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I needed a bathtub to hold this." It's just going everywhere. And so she sees Mr. Rocket Turtle come by.
Oh my god!
And Great Red Cyber, who everyone calls Great. the dog guard's name is literally just Great. He's talking to this dumb dragon, who's like, "No, the bath size. I think that was perfect." And the dragon keeps spitting out fire. He's like, "No, stop it, because if a fire hits the rocket turtle, he'll blow up, and he's right there." Well, so she catches the fire with the scissors and puts it and she blows him up.
Because everyone knows that's how you capture fire, is by grabbing it with the tip of scissors.
And magical fire, duh.
And then uses the shell as a great big bath and falls asleep in it. I thought for sure she would. I actually thought they were going to have her sink in and die in the bath.
I did too. I was waiting for that.
And then she'd be like worth it.
Yep.
But instead, the closing moment of this is Great telling her, like, you put that turtle back together. Then, and this, Jeremy, I know you had mentioned this in our chat when you had watched this. This is one of my favorites too. It's so hot. It's so hot, and having currently living in the Pacific Northwest and just getting done with the heat dome, it is. I've felt this episode, and the ice demons are basically on strike and getting ready to attack the other demons because the castle's based on like fire and lava, and they're like, "Yeah, it should be based on ice," so they're protesting. So the princess learns, "Oh, there's an ice area. I need to go get some ice." So she first decides she needs some armor, and she meets a man who's basically tires.
Yeah, rubber golem.
Rubber golem. And so she takes her scissors and slits him open and makes it her armor, and he's just like
First she goes, I'm sure you get this question all the time. Are you hollow?
So then traveling in this tire form into the ice area, she gets covered in ice, but she can't feel it, but she looks very icy. And that's important because the ice demon's leader is a bunch of ice, is like an ice cube man, right? Yeah. And he's leading the demons in this revolution. Well, he disappears, and when she shows up, they think she's him. And she's like, "We should build the princess an igloo and do whatever the princess wants." And they're like, "How does that help?" trust me.
Yeah.
And then the guy comes back, and she's like, hold on. And the ice golem comes back, and she's like, 1 second. She goes over, disappears off screen, and then comes back with a big push cart of ice from his body. And she's like, use this for the igloo.
So horrible.
And so yeah, she gets to sleep in an igloo that the ice demons built for her as they put like frost waves at her, keep cool air on her. And
Out of the corpse of their previous leader.
Yes.
And then the final scene is great, saying like, put the ice golem back together.
Yes. Fantastic.
That was a good one, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and then the last one of this episode is she sees a little bug demon sleeping on a teddy bear's belly and gets jealous, so she takes a shrinking potion to try to sleep on a teddy bear belly, but it turns her into a child instead, and then basically just has to spend the whole episode where the demons are like, she's such a cute little kid, and she does not like it, so she starts throwing quills at everyone until they do what she wants. But she has to fall asleep in kid style, being held by people, which she hasn't done in a while. Okay, then we get to meet Harpy.
Harpy.
So we learned the female demon warriors have all been off on a mission, and they've all returned now.
Which was amazing because it never even occurred to me. Like I didn't even notice
so
there were only men here. Yes.
And one of them is Harpy, who is a Harpy, and she comes to see the princess, and she's like, she just really wants to do girl talk, and the princess doesn't want to talk to her. Ignores her.
Finds out she has feathers.
Yep.
Basically, yeah, the princess wants a new comforter and sees the down feathers, and it's like, that's perfect. So she's like, let's be friends and have a sleepover.
Well, I love that the first thing she says is, do these come off?
Yeah. And she even makes the comment like, it'd probably ruin them. We just cut them off.
She totally would. Oh my god.
So they have a sleepover, and basically she uses this poor Harpy's wings. And Harpy kind of is aware she's being used, but just really, really wants to be friends.
She's like, what do we talk about now? Like, shh, it's sleepy time now.
Yeah. Can I turn around? No, you face that way.
But the next quest is that they fall out of the bed, and so she's like, well, I need a bigger bed if I'm going to make this work. And Harpy tells her, well, the horns that are at the top tower of the demon castle, you can tell it's a demon castle because there's horns on it, right? She's like, those are actually magic clouds that all the flying demons can rest on. Well, that's all the princess needed to hear, and she's like, I need you to fly me out there. She ties like ribbons to a cloth to her feet, and then she's like, you want me to fly with my legs open carrying you? Yes.
Oh, my quads.
We're friends, right?
The quad work.
Yeah.
Leg day.
Yep.
So they go up there, and yeah, the princess cuts off a huge mattress out of the cloud. They fly back down and sleep on it, and then Twilight's looking out the window like, why is one of the horns just broken off and like hanging limply to the side? But then, after quest complete and she gets to sleep, we see that Harpy now is coming to visit her every day, so she returns the mattress to the Demon King.
She just doesn't want her around.
Then we see the hero defeat this boss that he had been having trouble with, the Sand Dragon. And he finally defeats him, and it's the first of the Big Ten have now been defeated. So the Big Ten, which are basically the Twilight's council, they're the bosses you have to beat the game. And they all meet to say, hey, which one of us is going to be next? What's going on? And while they're there, we meet, I think her name is Neo, but she's the plant lady. And she's scolding them about the princess. I think the princess actually walks in, and they're like, you leave. You're not supposed to be here. Get out. And she's like, how could you guys be so mean? They're like, wait. They turn off the video. And the princess is already using her scissors to attack a tree demon. that she's already carved her names in. She attacks them every day.
And then they were like, wait, didn't he used to be taller?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Neo's like, that's my older brother. And she's like, but I'm sure she doesn't even realize what she's doing. And then Saya hollows him out just in one big move. So he's just that empty bark laid on the ground, like, I feel lighter now. As she cuts huge sections and is like, I only need the one. And throws the others away. Make a log bed. And she does make a log bed. And Neo
This
keeps
just
just
leaves
trying to
the
rationalize
force.
it.
Yeah, of course, it's just distraught. Was this the scene where they're all talking, and you hear this horn dooting in the background?
That's
That's a
maybe
different
it was.
scene?
Maybe
Yeah,
it
I
was.
mean, I think it was.
Yep. She's using horn, and they're like, "Quit blowing that horn!" So she pulls out different types of horns to start blowing them.
And they let it go for so long. There's like this whole conversation. She must have blown the horn like 8 times without us knowing where that sound was coming from, and it's just kind of grating on your nerves. Like, what is this? Very,
Well, it
very
almost
excellent
filled in with the background music that was happening as if it was like a serious conversation.
Uh-huh. But it was in the weirdest, like, it did not sync up with anything properly. It's really good.
You stop it with that horn.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the episode where the hero is getting lost. Basically, there's 3 paths, and we see him throughout the episode choose all 3 paths, and they're all wrong. He's completely lost. Has no idea where to go. But the princess spills one of her potions onto her comforter, and has to wash it. So meanwhile, the Big Ten are discussing how the hero is getting lost and what they're going to do. And one of the villains, Gearbolt, is like, no, I've invented stuff. He's like, we have this tornado bomb. Meanwhile, she's gone to the Fountain of Purity and has used a bubble demon to wash the blanket. And she takes this tornado bomb and uses it to do a spin cycle in the fountain. And he's like, and I also invented this magnet pole that will help the hero find his direction at all times. It'll always point him in the right direction. And she uses that for her drying rack. And then he's like, and I built this electrical robot demon that he'll have to battle to get here, but I put in, it's weak to holy light, so he'll be able to defeat it with his unique power. Also, it's just really important not to put anything magnetic in the center hole. Meanwhile, I need to hang my drying rack. She shoves it into the robot, who starts spinning, and he explodes, and her laundry's clean.
Well, and I just love it how the whole time that's happening and the robot's like falling apart, it's just them overlaid in the background laughing about how ridiculous it would be that anybody would stick a magnet on an engine. Like, obviously, who would do that?
It has that weakness, but nothing to worry about there.
Nope,
As it's
nothing.
exploding. And then they find her asleep next to all the destruction.
Which I think the conclusion of this episode is the Mark II of the robot, and it was so great.
Even though Mark III is better. I love Mark III.
Yes, it is. But it explains, like, when you're playing JRPGs, sometimes you'll run into this. Like, I remember weird, like in Final Fantasy IV and some of the other early ones, where you'd have these really weird boss characters, and sometimes they'd look just like the Mark II, where it's basically a princess. And you're like, why is that a version of the princess that's like twisted and evil? Oh, it's because the princess is kind of horrible.
Yeah. Represents what their experience with her is. Yes.
Yeah, they're inspired.
So things have gotten cold again, and the princess needs her woolen underwear to keep her tummy warm.
This was really cute.
She can't say underwear.
She can't say the word underwear. So she keeps trying to. She goes around to all the different demons trying to communicate what she's doing and what she wants, but with like hand gestures or drawings, and they just think she's threatening them and building a super weapon. Meanwhile, Gearloose has actually built in what Jeremy mentioned. The Mark II of the robot is a giant evil princess with scissors, and she eventually goes under the cloth that's holding it to create her underwear in secret. And then when the cloth comes down and she's right there, and they're like, "There's the super weapon."
Yeah,
Because
it looks like her. Yep.
Also, she does kill the King Cloth here again. When he confronts her again, he keeps trying to be like, "I will get my revenge," and then, "Oh, I need a cloth. That's perfect."
Yeah, thank you.
Then in the final segment of this is the Demon King can't sleep, and so she does a lot of things to him. Forces him to drink potion, read grimoires, ties him up,
Ties him up.
Waterboards him.
waterboards him with
I
poison.
love that he goes, are these things that help you fall asleep? She's like, no. He's like, why are you doing it to me?
Yeah.
But she remembers the words of her mother, and so she rubs his head. And we learn a little bit like a lot of what he does is because of his father, and his father was a big demon king as well. And she helps him get to sleep, and it's nice. And then the end credit scene is that the hero got so lost he never saw the robot that they put out in the desert for him to fight. He completely missed it. He's just standing out there in the desert.
Yeah, just standing there in the wind, just like.
Yep.
So in the next episode, the princess gets kidnapped from the Demon King and taken to the old demon castle, and this is where we meet Hades, who is the brother of Twilight, and he wants to be the Demon King.
I love the in-between cards for the next couple episodes because they change it to Sleepy Princess in the former demon castle.
Yes.
And we're also going to meet Hypnos, who is a demon who sleeps all the time. So, basically the princess's hero. What do
hours of sleep a day.
What do you guys think of these characters?
I love Hypno. Actually, I love both these characters because you have one that's just absolutely full of himself and he has no reason to be. And then Hypnos, which is like, I kind of don't care as long as I can find a place to sleep. And like he's that master of finding locations of like, this spot is perfect because it doesn't get hit by fireballs.
Yep. I love the exchanges about how Hades is constantly trying to prove his mettle and take the mantle from his brother. But his complete obliviousness to what's going on around him and even just his environment is amazing. It's so good. It leads to some fantastic jokes.
I also love the three little dog boys, Kerberos.
Cerberus. Cerberus?
Yep.
Oh, God.
It reminded me of like a Huey doing.
I didn't catch that before.
Yeah, their names are.
Oh, you didn't?
They're Kerr, Burr, and Ross, and they're three little dogs. Who she ends up manipulating them because she doesn't have teddy bears anymore, so she forces them. And this is where we learn she keeps grenades on her belt. The little white puffs are bombs that she can blow holes into walls whenever she wants. And so she's like, I guess I'm in a new location, and I guess I need to start over from scratch. So she's back to making a pillow, and then so we see Hades calling his brother. And yeah, this is a. I laughed so hard at this scene. Hades calls his brother and he's like, I have captured your princess and I will challenge you to be the rightful demon king. And she's locked away in my dungeon. And meanwhile, she's right behind him and she starts like tearing off his clothes to make for material. And everyone in Twilight's camp is like, oh, hey, look over here. Look up. Well, you should fly up. So it's to help the cloth tear so she doesn't get caught because they see her in the camera.
Yeah.
They're rooting for her, which is fantastic.
Yeah. It's so good.
Yeah, and then we get the scene where she meets Hypnos, who, teaches her the ways of sleeping, like you can do more. And she ends up creating a mobile fluff bed that was made of electric traps, and she figured out how to manipulate. I like how they have the floor tiles that, like, it's like a puzzle room, and you touch the floor, it's going to shoot you this way and move you, like in every Zelda game, or which she then uses to make her bed move. And then in the final segment of this, the Demon King rallies his group, and they're off not to fight Hades. They're off to save the princess. They bring candy. They bring blankets. They're like, we will get her to come home with us. And they're running through the castle. Meanwhile, she's rummaging through the castle, stealing everything. Like anything that she thinks can help her sleep, she's just looting like crazy. And Hades is like, oh, they're coming for this final battle. And they finally get to Hades' throne room. He pulls out his weapons.
Battle of the season.
Yep, the big battle's about to start. And princess has created like this flying. It looks kind of like Bowser's thing, but with wings instead of a little helicopter on it. The little cart he rides in, or flying cart. So she's flying back to the castle. She's going home, and they're like, "All right, well, bye. I guess wait for us, princess." And then
It's literally like the beginning of an anime clash of like the epic battle proportions, and then all of a sudden everything stops before even the first blow is landed, and they're like, "We're gone, bye, she's gone."
Which again just also solidifies the joke that she can escape anything she wants whenever she wants.
Yeah.
But the scene of the teddy bear demon bringing her real pillow was so cute.
Yeah, it was. I also love the fact that when they came to rescue her, they actually brought 10 teddy bear demons just to try and, coax her into coming back.
And then we see the guards who are like, "Man, it's been really quiet and boring around here." The hero has breached a volcano, and they're able to use a spell that links to the crown, and only because Scissors Sorcerer is bringing food to the princess, and so they're able to reach a hand through a portal, and they bump her, and so the sorcerer's like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to report on that." So the 10 are like, "Okay, one of us is gonna have to fight Donner soon."
I just love the fact that every interaction she has with Donner makes her furrow her brows. Like, she can't stand him. Even if it's just his hand reaching through while she's asleep, inevitably he's going tap, 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 tap.
Right. The constant joke is that he is literally the antagonist to her sleep. He's always against it, which we learn more about. She comes into the Big Ten's room and she's like, "I had a bad dream, and I'm going to tell you all about it." And they're like, "Wait,
They're like
what?"
in the middle of a meeting.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we learn, basically, it's childhood memories of what she calls D. What's-It, which is clearly the hero, Donner. He brought her flowers, but it had thorns, and he hit her with it. And then a bee showed up. He ate the bee so it wouldn't hurt her. He took her on a picnic once. He wanted to race, and he ran off a cliff, and so she left him. And they're like, she's like, "I didn't see him for a long time." "No, he died, princess." But he didn't. He came back, and they're all just like, who's the victim here? The boy who keeps getting tortured by her, or her who keeps getting tortured by the boy?" Like, they just, yeah. And only Cleric puts it together, because she also says, "My dad said this was my fiance," and Cleric's like, "Wait, an idiot who gets lost, who would be close to the princess, whose name begins with D," and so he knows the secret. And this is where he tells them it's going to be Fire Dragon Venom.
Fire Venom Dragon. Yeah.
Fire Venom Dragon is going to fight him next, and he's like, "Yeah, you just kill him. It's fine."
They'll send another hero, don't we?
While Fire Venom Dragon is battling the hero, which lasts for 3 days, Saya gets a toothache. Yep. It's the greatest tragedy of her life. And so they take her to Demon Dentist, who's also a singer, just so you know.
And a pianist.
And a pianist, yeah. He plays music.
Okay, but he's also a bird beast. Yes. And what do we hear constantly from the Quill guy? "Oh, I just had another bird beast egg custard." Like, I thought that bird beasts were monsters. Well, I guess they are technically, but I thought they weren't sapient. But they're sapient monsters.
So we find out Saya has a bit of a complex and does not let people look in her mouth. We find out the secret is her tongue is slightly shorter than average. So they're like, "Hey, we need to look in your mouth," and she's like, tiny little opening, or like refusing to do it. Meanwhile, rumors are spreading through the castle that something's wrong with the princess and she's got a deadly disease and she's gonna die. So everyone comes to the surgery. So she's not letting anyone in. She's like, I'll only let a teddy bear look in my mouth. So they have to take care of the cavity, eyes closed, with the teddy bear directing them. They're like, "What does it look like, teddy bear?" Her mouth is.
He doesn't even use words. He's like,
And it takes them 8 hours to do it, but they do finally take care of it, and she gets to go to sleep afterwards.
And I love their justification for why they couldn't use magic is like, well, there's fairies in your teeth, so we have to extract the fairies. But that still doesn't solve why you couldn't just kill her and then have her revive without the fairies, unless the fairies die with her and get revived. I don't know, but this was fantastic.
Also, when she falls asleep, they're like, "Why didn't we just wait for this?"
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Then Fire Venom Dragon returns. It was a 3-day battle, and he lost. And it turns out he had no healing potions left because they were all drank, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that princess does do that." And he's like, what's the first one?
I remember the bomb, and I remember.
Oh no, the grenades were replaced by avocados. Yeah, yes. because the plant demon girl saw the bombs and was like, "Whoa, the princess could steal these. I'll just replace them with avocados for now," and forgot. The robot that they had gotten lost in the desert, they brought it back to help, except for it was a tiny little thing because when the princess had seen it, she had gotten offended. And so Twilight had modified it, and her biggest complaint was that it was big. So he made it like it's this little princess that just comes out and goes, "I'm tired, I'm tired."
Not helpful at all in a fight.
and then a bomb went off inside of his bag.
Then the book. There was a grimoire. He was supposed to have a really powerful grimoire, but there was no grimoire. Instead, he had a picture book about sleep.
About sleep, and that was great. Great had replaced the book and given. He's like, "You're not allowed to read. This is not what hostages would read. Read this grimoire instead."
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then Cleric had put a bomb too because he wanted everyone there to die. And then they all blame the princess, like, "Oh, it must have been the princess who did that." And so he's like, "Well, I'm gonna go tell her off," and they're like, "No, no need."
I love how the Aqua dude is like, "Why are you so sweaty? Why are you getting all clammy?"
Yeah.
His name is Poseidon. That name I know. His name is Poseidon.
Right? Yeah. And he's calling everybody out.
Meanwhile, on the next episode, the Human Shopping Channel.
Oh God, I love this.
The princess sees something about a waterbed on the Human Shopping Channel, so she picks up it's a crystal that looks just like a phone. And they're like, "Oh, sorry, we don't deliver to the Demon Castle." So she breaks it.
Okay, also, for Human Shopping Channel, the blonde guy, I swear, the way that he was done in the subtitle, he sounded like it was an English guy trying to speak Japanese. The accent, it sounded so cheesy and campy and silly. Like, I swear, did they do anything like that in the English dub?
I watched the sub, so I got the same thing.
Okay, so you got that. Okay. Did you?
In the dub, they just sounded like watching QVC. Just kind of fast talking and yeah.
I thought it was a really nice touch in the sub.
So the demons decide it's hostage training week. The princess needs to learn what a hostage is supposed to do, not breaking their phones. So the first thing they try is they're all just going to ignore her. And so she starts wandering around the castle doing her thing. She wants to make a waterbed, and no one will talk to her. And so she just starts putting leashes on people who has horns. So she gets Great, she gets Cleric, and then she gets Twilight. She's leading them all around, and they're like, "No, we can't say anything to her about this because that would not be ignoring her." And then Plant Lady is like, "That's not how you properly ignore someone." And she's like, "Oh, you guys were ignoring me." But she had just yawned, so there's some tears in her eyes. And they're like, "Oh, we made her cry, no!"
Yeah.
So they all let her use their horns as a drill to create her waterbed.
And the vines as tethers and ties.
Yep, everyone helps. So they call Hades, and they're like, "Okay, we need some help. How would you deal with her?" And he's like, "Well, that's easy. You just need to keep her busy. You need to give her some work to do." So they give her school grade homework. But Princess has a secret. She's always been doing work her whole life, and it always keeps her from sleep. So she's gotten really good at doing it really fast, even though she doesn't do it particularly the way you want it, but she'll get it done. So she does a month's work of homework and like for the journal, she fills out a journal by the minute to fill all the pages rather than by the day.
Yep.
And then for her research project, the 4 guards are like, you know what? You're working so hard. We want to help you. Okay, it's about how to skin demons. Or what skin best makes a bed.
Yeah.
So she completes all her work, and they're like, it'll take us more work to give her work than to have her do it. So we're not doing this anymore. Excuse me.
I love that they walked up to her in like the cafeteria work area. They're like, "What are you doing in here?" And she's like, she's reading and writing so fast. And they're like, "Wait, you're still writing and you looked up at us?"
Yep.
She also
How are you-
changed her outfit. Princess,
Yes.
whenever she wears her outfit for certain activities.
Took off the pajamas.
And I liked her answer when they're like, why aren't you doing this in your cell? I was lonely in there.
So you can leave whenever you want
Yep.
because you're lonely.
Anyway, then the demons get some bandits that they take prisoner. And they were just going to let them go. They're like, no, make them prisoners.
This
And
is
then
so
she can
great.
see how hostages are supposed to act.
So
So they take her down and they're like, see, princess, you're special. You get special treatment. This is how a hostage is supposed to act. And the hostages are like, demons, I'm so scared. And don't hurt me. So she starts
Minotaur's
doing,
all upset.
yeah. So
Right?
she starts doing this. So she's like, Minotaur, like, oh, you're a monster. He's like, what?
Yeah.
No one told him they were doing this.
Yeah, he just walked in for his regular routine job.
And so all of her, even as she like walks into one of the regular cells and locks her and closes it behind her and is like, oh, you're trying to ruin me and kill me. And they're like, they've gotten so attached to her that it's just guilt ridden. You see all these arrows flying into them every time she says something. And they're like, okay, never mind. Don't act like this ever again. Well, she still does, just whenever she gets in trouble and wants to manipulate them.
Yep.
No. And I love that the other hostages, so eventually they're like, don't do it. So she just walks out like, okay, I guess I know how to act then. And the other hostages are like, that's the scariest person we've ever seen.
Uh-huh.
Ew.
Thanks to Human TV Shopping Network, there's a special item and she's going to get it. So the princess puts on an athletic outfit and takes all her gear and just sprints out of the castle, leaving a note that I'm going to the human world. I'll be back. They go chasing after her. They're like, we have to stop her from returning to the human world. And she outruns them. Like Poseidon teleports in front of him. And she like does this move where she runs past him while whispering, that was a pretty good move. And it devastates him. Like he's like, I'm so underpowered.
I love how they're like, oh, she'll never get past this next part, and also she's throwing grenades and like jumping over the explosions. They're like, how has she got that timing down?
Yep.
And then they're like the poison swamp, and she's riding scissors with the piece from the windshield on her back to propel her, and she's like, jet ski. But they managed to stop her because Twilight creates a cage with a bed in it and places out there, and the
Everyone's
animation.
Oh.
Well, everyone's like, this is never gonna work. Who's dumb enough to fall for this?
They draw
And then
her
she
with
just-
her big eyes, the
Yeah.
big. Go ahead.
She's like she peeks her head out as they're saying that, and it's just a shot of like the cage with the bed in it, and it's just that old-fashioned rope trap that's like a rock is on the pillow and that's holding the door up, and there's a bit of like cliff to the side, and you just see her head peek out from the cliff like some kind of deer or something, and her eyes are like dinner plates, and she turns and she looks at the camera, and then she turns and she looks over there, and she turns and looks over here. It's almost like she's sniffing the air, and then she scampers into the cage, fluffs the pillow, and the rock rolls off and the cage closes. And
They even
she's
call her out
"Ah!"
like, what is she, a wild animal?
Exactly. It's so good. After everything she just did, proving how amazing she is and that she can do anything she wants and escape at any time, she falls for this. And oh God, that's so fantastic. I love that. So well done.
So they scold her about leaving, and she's like, well, I really wanted to get something. They're like, well, you can't just go to the human world alone and get something. She's like, well, okay, then come with me. And they're like, well, no, that's not what we meant. And Clark's like, we should probably do it. So the Twilight agrees. And they're like, she goes to sleep like, oh, it's the excitement of a big shop the day before a shopping day. She goes to sleep. Meanwhile, the demons are like, we have to put a ton of thought into our disguises. And then the next day, they're just their horns are sticking out.
Horrible disguises.
All he did was like put a shroud over the front of his head.
Yeah.
So
you can still see his muzzle and his ears are peeking out the top.
So she puts a tag on each of their back, preparing for Halloween.
Yes.
So they go to town, and the item she wants is a massage pillow. While they're waiting, she buys them some popcorn and some hot buns that have like dead demon faces on it. And
this is like the kill the demon sweet and the hung demon and the squashed demon and the skewered demon bun.
But Great Red Siberian still eats them all.
Oh yeah.
And then they see these marketers who are like, this is the massage pillow deluxe, and there's so this huge line. They're like, no, any store will have the massage pillow you want. And she's like, no, I want that one. So they get into this 3-hour line, and somehow Demon King gets into the wrong line for like a raffle for the fireworks. But it's been a long day, and right when they get up to the counter to finally buy it, she falls asleep. So they have to pay for it with their own money, and they don't have enough. They have to run and get the Demon King to give them some extra money, even though she brought money that she stole from their treasury.
Right.
And then they're trying to figure out how to leave, but the crowd gets bigger, and that's because of the fireworks. And she wakes back up, and they won the VIP seats for the fireworks, and they all go watch the fireworks together, which was all part of her plan to use the massage pillow and sleep under fireworks. But the fireworks keep waking her up, so she gets all pissy about it. And this is the scene where Twilight mentions about like why he's doing what he's doing, about having a human representative and a demon representative battle, and because all the fireworks are skewered demons and dead demons getting splattered, and so she draws a happy demon symbol for them, and then they eventually go home, and she starts drawing the symbol for the teddy bears. Oh no, she also gives the massage pillow to the teddy bears.
Yeah, they love it.
And then someone wants one of them. She's like, get in line.
Harpy.
Oh, yeah, it's Harpy.
It's Harpy. She hates Harpy so much.
Yeah, so then she's making these symbols for the teddy bears, and Twilight sees one of them and picks it up and checks it out. But meanwhile, he gets told by Great that the next area is not ready, and this is the scene where he teleports. He's like, "Hero, go left. Left is where you should go, and definitely don't go right. That'd be bad. Go left." And the hero's like, "All right, I will go left." And his buddy's like, "Wait, what? You're just gonna?" Yeah, there's all this stall for time because they've been so busy with the princess. They're not ready for him. But this is important. That actually was story important that he appeared there and told him that. And then the scene with Harpy happens, and Harpy is like, "I want you to come to a pajama party. It'll be really good sleep for you," which is the princess's weakness. So that night, Twilight's going to bed, and it took me a couple tries, but I finally got it to freeze frame on the right spot. There is a shot of him as a little kid on the bed with his dog, and his dog is Great Red Siberian. He's been his dog his whole life and just became his demon lieutenant. Oh, I love that. And the dog has so many dog moments, right? Like when the ones later when they leave him behind, and he's sad because his owner left.
Or when he was eating the demon buns, and he's like, his tail's wagging, and he's cleaning himself.
I love it. So Twilight's going to bed, and the princess comes in, and she's like, "I want to have a practice pajama party." And he's like, "Well, what do you think that is?" And he tells her, like, they talk about love. Like, you want to talk about like who you have a crush on and stuff? And she pulls out a bomb and starts shoving it in her mouth. He's like, "Okay, nope." And so she asks him, like, who, do you have someone you love? Meanwhile, Cleric walks in while they're having this discussion, and it definitely looks dirty. And
yeah.
The Demon King's he's like, "Oh, no, we didn't. She said she didn't want to do that. Or no, not that, but." And Cleric attacks him. Cleric goes all out, like, blast and take out the building kind of stuff. It's a pretty funny scene. Princess leaves because it's too noisy. And then she tells Harpy, no thank you. I already practiced. I didn't like it. Then we meet QB, and QB we've seen pop up a few times. She is a succubus who is not popular. So she's really envious of the princess who is, and because she's not popular, she can't feed off other people's energy, and it's a problem for her. So she goes to the princess and asks, and she's like, "Oh, we look alike. Can you teach me?" And she asks, I want to be like you?" And the princess is like, "Oh, it's a body double for guarding me." So she takes her through a daily routine of life as a princess, and QB gets exhausted. And at the end, she's like, in QB, the final step is, you can't be afraid to die. And she starts
push
you into lava. Don't worry, I'll tell the old man to resurrect you. But she messes up, and the ground slips, and it's the princess who falls in. And she's like, "Oh well, I guess that means I get to sleep," and she dies.
And I love how QB is just screaming and like weeping that the princess died, as if it's some big thing that mattered.
As if the princess hasn't died before.
Right? Weekly.
And then we have another meeting of the Big Ten that gets interrupted by the princess, and she's having another nightmare, but she falls asleep before she can tell them and starts having the nightmare again. So they have Hypnos show up, and he makes her dream visible, which is like this silly, fluffy puppy land, but she's being chased by the hero.
I love this so much.
And she just keeps attacking him and running away from him, and he keeps just coming at her, and it's really him. Like their dreams are connected, and he's like, "Princess, I'm just so happy to see you," and she just keeps beating on him, drops him off a cliff. She runs away. He's like, "Oh, we're racing! Yay!"
He keeps making excuses for why she's abusing him.
Yes, and I love it how like when she drops him off the cliff, he climbs back up, and she's trying to walk away from him, and so he like reaches out, and grabs her ankle, and so she face plants, and so like it's just the physical humor was so good.
He's like, "Oh, you're so light. I didn't know you were so light, but it makes sense, right? Because you're a princess, you'd be light." And he's just really awkward. And meanwhile, the demons are like, "This is terrible. This guy's the worst." And they also figure out that's the hero. This is the guy.
Yep.
And the reason this is happening is because when Twilight went to tell him to go left, he had one of the slips of paper with the symbol on it. It was a dream contract slip. So any two people, like someone signs it and someone else holds it, they can have dreams together. So he accidentally put them in each other's dreams. So he goes and steals it from the hero and comes back. He's like, "Okay, I fixed it." And that's all good. So, based on his resilience in the dream, they decide to up the difficulty of the next area to make it extra hard on the hero. Also, I have this feeling they just don't like him as much as they used to. And they give the princess some cake for her nightmares. And then it starts to snow. And so we come to our final episode, which is about Christmas. And Princess writes a letter to Santa. Santa's not allowed at Demon Castle. So they sneak and read what the letter says, and it says, "I want to go home." Well, that really freaks everybody out. They, A, she probably could if she wanted to. And B, what do they do? How do they make this happen? She interrupts one of their Big Ten meetings when they're talking about it, and so they do eventually get her to expand. And what she really wants to do is get her warm underwear from home. Her favorite one.
Christmas underwear.
Christmas underwear. That's what she really, really wants. And so they decide, okay, one more time, we'll take you back to the human world, and they're going to take her home. It's only going to be Twilight and Cleric. So they go there, and they're like, just in and out. You grab the underwear, we're back out. Well, they get there, and of course she climbs onto her bed, and she's like, "Oh, a king-size bed, even though I'm just a princess," and falls asleep.
This is basically the Rick and Morty meme of 10 minutes in and out.
10 minutes in and out.
Yep.
The queen hears something coming from the room, so she comes in. They manage to hide in the closet and put QB in her place on the bed.
Cleric brought her with him, and Twilight didn't know about it.
He paid her money.
In a
In a
bag.
bag. Yeah.
Put her
He
in a
offered her money
Bribed
to
her.
ride in a bag and be a decoy if needed. So, and they're like, no, that'll never work. And the queen's like, my daughter's back, and grabs her and runs out the room. And then, so they're like, okay, no, we have. They're like, we'll go back and then come get her. And Princess is like, nope, they'll figure it out. We have to save her now, or we'll never get her back. So they go out, and all the paladin guards are now looking for them. So they. And Princess falls asleep. So they hide in armor, this giant armor together. And the head paladin is like, "Oh, you guys walk with me. Keep your eyes out." And then he,
Well, right before this, I love it because like another guard like does this whole like video game
Eye beam.
vision, like cone of
Yeah.
vision thing, and they're like, "We were right in his vision. How do you not see us?"
that's right. So they start sneaking away from this head guard, and he's like, "Yeah, I guess it's past the time. I'll tell you some childhood stories about the princess." And then they both stop at the same time, like, "Cleric, why'd you stop?" "I don't know, Demon King, why'd you stop?" So they go back, and he starts telling them childhood stories, basically about how the hero ruined her life, the reason she has the tongue thing.
Complex,
She
yeah.
wakes up when the stories start, and she's like freaking out, and they're like, "No, you can't. They don't. We're gonna hear this, and also if you expose us, we'll be." So the armor is just like smashing into the wall, and they're like, "Oh, I'm just so emotional about the princess," and doing the worm across the floor.
Yeah.
It is some great physical comedy, and her
Yep.
eyes are bugging out. It's got the big saucer look again, and she is just losing her mind. And eventually she breaks free and just runs off. But the paladin head guard is a night owl, and when the sun comes up, he instantly falls asleep, so they don't get caught. And they're like, "What is it with humans?" Princess goes back to sleep, but then she wakes up again and is like, "Okay, I'm gonna set things right." So QB is about to be announced to the world as the return of the princess, and it's televised to everyone. The hero sees it, the demon castle sees it.
Which then begs the question: why is he back at the castle? Like, why isn't he still like on his way to the demon castle?
Right. Well, he shows. Oh, we lost you.
Uh-oh.
So close.
Hey, he's back.
All right.
Oh. All right.
Push it through.
Mm-hmm.
So she does this thing where she speaks for QB behind a pillar while the Demon King holds the guards in place with magic, and basically explains to her people about her role as a princess and all her experiences. But really, she's talking about her experiences at the Demon Castle and talking to them. And then she puts on this. She takes two quills to be horns and puts on a paper plate mask. And is like, "I'm the Demon King," and she grabs QB and they fly away. And probably one of my favorite parts of the anime is the mom looking at her real daughter and going, "Looks like she's having a good time. Bye, honey."
She knew the whole time.
Yep. Then the hero shows up and he's too late, and they go back and they have a big Christmas party, and all the teddy bears get warm underwear.
And Jeremy's gone.
He's
Oh.
being very stoic. Okay, no emotion.
Is that what it is?
No,
It's
just really, really choppy.
Let's go to final reviews and let's have Jeremy go first.
I absolutely loved it. I highly recommend this anime as a comedy, and also just even I don't even think you have to use it as recovery from something heavy. Just watch it. It's really entertaining, really funny, good stuff. Love the characters. Definitely a 5 out of 5 for me.
All right, Jason, what'd you think?
If you're looking for an anime to laugh at and to just have some fun, this is definitely it. Not a perfect anime, but definitely a 4 out of 5 for me.
Yeah, 4 out of 5 for me as well. Very fun. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time thinking about it, but that's not what it's made for. It's lighthearted and good natured, and we don't get a lot of those on this podcast, so I did really enjoy my time with it. Well written comedy, and that's hard to do. especially with the premise, like Jeremy said in the beginning, I didn't think the premise was just going to last. I didn't see how it would, but it's one of those things where it repeats a joke enough times that it just gets sillier and sillier, and that always worked for me. So 4 for me. All right, our next anime comes with a mature content warning, so this is another heavy one. This is Wonder Egg Priority. The reason we're giving a warning is I know it deals with suicide and self-harm and some other mature theme content, is even as early as the first episodes. Just be aware of that when you're watching it. Kind of a, I don't want to say it's just like Madoka Magica, but it kind of gives me that vibe where Magic Girl, but what is the cost type situation. But I'll be honest, I haven't looked too much into it because this one I really wanted to come into with fresh eyes. So I've tried to not touch it. Again, this is one that was recommended to us, just like Sleeping Princess. We are also watching the 13th episode. That is a 1 hour special episode, and about half of it is a recap of the first 12 episodes. But my understanding is, and thank you to GamerDad, who I reached out to because I know he had seen it, that it does offer some extra context, and I did want to make sure we include it because of that. So we will be watching that 13th episode, even though it wasn't like originally part of the first season, from what I understand. So episodes 1 through 13, and that 13th episode is a special 1 hour episode. So there's a lot to chew on here, and that's what we'll be watching next. If you have thoughts on the Sleepy Princess in the Demon Castle, you can reach us on our Twitter at Baka Podcast. You can reach us on our email, theanimebakaclub@gmail.com, or wherever you found the podcast. You can leave a comment there. The comments we've been getting from you guys have been really fantastic and really uplifting. Thank you for all the kind words lately. That's really helped work, and my computer has been breaking. Getting these podcasts out have been harder and harder, but you guys have made it worth it to keep going. And while as fun as it is to talk with Jason and Jeremy, the editing's not fun, but knowing that there's people who want to hear it makes it all worth it. So thank you guys.
Also, if you do mainly listen to us on a podcast platform, make sure to give us a good review, and whatever star rating they have. And if you really like our show, make sure to share it with your friends. That's probably the best way to get the word out for us, is word of mouth. So thank you very much.
Jason's sold out. I can't believe it. Oh my god. All right, let's go ahead and say goodbye.
Thanks for listening.
Human Shopping Channel.
Sayonara.